Hello, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tower Talks. My name is Arav.
And I am Nanjapa. And in the last episode, we talked about many wacky inventions like nuclear aircraft, an energy generator that could basically be powered from your table, and even supercars from the 1930s. But in this episode, we have way more cool, crazy inventions, Arav.
Yeah, we'll be discussing like a whole different level of stuff this time. It's going to be epic. So let's dive in without any ado.
So, firstly, the smart highways of 1939, the first self driving world. Arav, do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So the smart highways of 1939. So as it says, the concept was like brought in 1939. So what happened was it was like a fully engineered system where um like there were roads that had electronic strips embedded under it, right? So like those strips allowed the like highway to communicate with the cars, like directly with the cars. So like think about it. It can be such a revolutionary change in future.
That's so true. In a world where there's so much accidents, where there's so much drunk driving, I mean,
All gone, all gone.
it's all gone. Just poof, it disappears. And I feel that if it were to be implemented today, it would be much better use than back in the 1930s. Now let's talk about Google's project era, the last phone you ever thought you would ever buy. So
This was actually like a fully modular smartphone. Like, everything was attachable and detachable. Like, think about this. You're a photographer, you're a wildlife photographer, and you want a good camera, but let's say you cannot afford such a great camera. Like, so what you decide to do is you buy a bigger camera, like a better one, like a bigger camera part, and you put it on your phone. You can replace it like with something. I mean, it used to be like kind of Lego, like how you just chip it in that way. And let's say if you travel a lot and then you want like a lot of battery, so you can put in a bigger battery and remove something like storage, just in case if you do cloud computing.
so you're saying there's basically zero e-waste
Yeah.
by this, and you don't have to continually buy a new phone. Like there's so
Exactly.
much inflation nowadays, and phone prices are rising.
It totally removes the whole concept of replace your phone every 2 years. But I mean, that's exactly why it was cancelled. Like, companies wanted this money, right? So, like, they thought that if we give them a phone that they can like upgrade or change every few months, few years, then they won't buy new phones entirely. So, I mean, it was considered as a like an industry destroyer. So,
Fair enough, fair enough.
yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want that sweet new profit for the new line of phones? But now let's move on to products that were vetoed, not because they were too wacky or too undoable, because they were too dangerous to manufacture.
They were actually forbidden.
Arav, do you want to tell us about Project Storm Fury?
Oh, I mean, that like even the thought of it gives me chills. So like this was actually like as the name says, storm fury. Like it reduced the impact of storms. Like if there's a hurricane coming towards you, gone. But
Arav, now that I come to think of it, that could have actually saved so many lives. But why was it eventually scrapped?
yeah, I mean, so to begin with, their hypothesis was actually flawed. Like, and it's not even like it did not exist. It was there. Like, it was there for like a period of 2 decades, if I'm not wrong. But then it was cancelled. The reason their hypothesis was flawed, it was like their main idea was to seed hurricane clouds with silver iodide, like which would freeze super cold water, and that would cause ice crystals to form and disrupt the whole storm structure. So like I'm not quite sure, but I think the government did not really like consider that, or maybe.
Maybe because it could have been weaponized. I mean, if you have control over hurricane, the damage hurricanes can do. So if it were to be weaponized, it could be used in war, which would be truly detrimental. And I think that's why it was kind of phased out.
And some people say that it was also because of a lack of resources.
Fair enough. But have you heard of Nikola Tesla's death ray?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. He had actually developed a functional death ray. Like, I think it was called something
Teleforce.
Teleforce. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, it was like a directed energy weapon prototype that like Tesla claim could stop armies, like whole armies. Like it wasn't actually like a gun that releases lasers out of it, but then it worked. It was kind of like that. It was like a defensive system.
But why was it scrapped? It could this could have been like a huge game changer for the U.S. war economy.
Yeah, and so the thing was that like the files of this project were actually seized after Tesla's death, and like they were seized by the U.S. government, and they buried the project like as a national security threat. Like, I mean, think about it. Like, this could cause a war on like such a higher scale. Like, no one knows about it.
That's so true. I mean, they tried to keep nukes hidden until they were actually used. Imagine this was actually used. Any other country could have gotten their hands on it, and I think that's why it was not implemented to blast entire squadrons of armies. But let's talk about the cancer targeting nanorobots of the early 2000s.
Nanorobots. That reminds me of
Yeah, Big
Big
Hero
Hero
6.
6. Yeah,
Yeah,
he has.
with the kabuki mask, and he makes those huge structures where he fights all those bad guys. But but these were not used for fighting animated cartoon villains. No, this was used to treat cancer. I mean, now we have chemotherapy, but this could have been a complete game changer. What this does, what it could have done, was target individual cells, cancer-inducing cells, without harming anything else. And it was much more efficient than using any sort of radiation chemotherapy, because that also had a chance of affecting other non-infected cells. But this was far more efficient.
Yeah, and then plus it was like microscopic as well, right? So it could have been
True.
like a true game changer.
True, true. But this was eventually scrapped because of a funding cut. Because the pharmaceutical giants, they felt that a cure might end billion-dollar treatments for cancer therapy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like
again, they wanted their sweet profit. So
I mean, if you've noticed, many of these projects have been cancelled because of like what if?
corporate greed, in
Yeah,
my opinion, because they wanted the cash, and if they had one cheap, one definite solution that got done like this, then what's the point of earning such money? But this brings us to the autonomous war drone. In this day and age, there are numerous drones that are used in warfare, but this was in the 1980s, way
yeah.
before its time, and it was autonomous, which means it did not have to be controlled
Or
by
the
any human.
self-piloting thing.
Yeah, it was self-piloting, and it had its own mind. All they had to do was program it with who to kill, and kaboom. But many military leaders, they panicked after simulation showed it could make independent kill decisions. Like,
So
have you watched
like
the Terminator, Arif?
bits and pieces actually.
Yeah, the Terminator is basically right when robots gain consciousness and they just choose to kill humanity. Imagine the war drones had that same mentality. Scary.
All right. So now we move on to another category of products. These are actually these were like epic ideas that were failed by stupidity. Like, I mean,
I mean, like the very notion of this is nonsense. Arif.
yeah. And so let's begin with the Nokia's shape-shifting nanotech phone. Like,
Shape shifting.
yeah, it could basically change its shape like depending on what use you want it to be. And again, this idea was like really ahead of its time. Like,
Interesting. You know, the only Nokia I know is my 3310, the classic one. But
Bedrock.
imagine a shape shifting one. I bet it would have given iPhone and Samsung a run for their money.
Yeah, but then the thing is, like, Nokia thought that this was actually too futuristic for like that time, and like it lacked complexity, like it lacked simplicity, and it wasn't that commercial enough. So
Fair
like
enough.
that's why it never became a reality.
But imagine it just didn't happen. I mean, nobody would be saying, "What model of the iPhone have you bought?" They're like, "What model of the shape shifting Nokia do you have with you?" But this brings us to the steam powered robot horse.
Oh, the one like back in 1910s, somewhere over there.
Yeah,
That
back in
time.
the 1910s. And you know what's funny about that? If it were to happen today, it would all be about cars. But since it was only a horses back then, well, horses. A walking mechanical horse to replace normal horses. I mean, horses need to be fed, they need to be cared for. They might not listen to instructions.
And this one just needs to be charged. That's all.
That's all. But it never became a reality because, for starters, nobody wanted a creepy robot horse to be click clacking and neighing in a metallic voice.
Yeah, you would rather want a domestic.
A real horse.
Yeah.
Basically that. And many newspapers called it a nightmare machine. So I guess you might know how disapproved it was. Then there is the 30-minute jetpack from the
Ooh,
1950s.
I love jetpacks. I love jetpacks, bro. I mean, yeah, there was this game, I think, not retro game, but like there was this game called Jetpack Joyride where you
Oh
had to.
yeah, Jetpack Joyride. I remember Jetpack Joyride.
Yeah, so is it something like that?
Yeah, it is. It quite is. But for Jetpack Joyride, you will have to reload the game if you get out. But here, unfortunately, you won't be too lucky.
One
It
life.
is
You just have one life. What if you crash?
fair enough. A real jetpack with only half an hour lifetime, far better than modern ones. It was very futuristic, but the military said it was too unpredictable. I mean, imagine the gas or the power failed mid-flight. That would be game over, level over, forever. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the end of these two episodes of inventions that almost existed but never really did. So I feel that progress never really died in the invention itself. It died in the boardrooms. It died as a result of funding. It died as a result of interest, and it died because of fear. And the greatest things that almost didn't exist didn't fail. They were
So,
feared.
Yeah, and I'll just lay out a hard choice over here. Would you rather live in a safe world or in a legendary world?
And that's a thought to ruminate about. Until the next episode of Thar Talks. But oh wait, Arav.
The sponsor.
I remember this
You
time.
remembered it. Let's
It showed up on
go.
my laptop. Today's episode is sponsored by the committee of the people who said nah at the worst possible time.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same legendary team responsible to cancel the cold fusion because it sounded too cool, and rejecting wrist TVs because who would want to look at a screen all day, and burying flying cars because traffic but vertical? Nah.
Nah, ain't gonna happen. And use code bruh why for 0% off on your next bad decision. Thank you, and we'll see you in another episode.
Okay, let's do this again.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I say, young man, put yourself on the ground. I say, young man, no way to be unhappy. Young man, say, young man. Many ways to get James song, James. It's hard to stay at the YMCA. It's hard to stay at the Y.